Hello and good afternoon. I'm Chris Hunter, part of the advisory board for Rhode Island ASCE, and today I'm excited to come to you with our lunch live stream looking at the Rhode Island Airport Corporation Master Plan and Capital Improvement Programming. Today we'll have with you Mr. Dan Porter, and really excited about this. We as a group thought this would be great to bring to our membership because it's important to recognize the vital role of the RIAC, our Rhode Island Airport Corporation, in support of our state's public airports. And I had to put that in plural because quite often we just think of airport, but certainly there's 6 under control of RIAC. And in the past years, RIAC has served our state well, enhancing our market share with new airlines, new destinations, and more convenient routes to provide our region with more connections to the world than ever before, adding additional airlines and even more nonstop routes. I share these things not just because of passenger and freight travel, but also because the airport is another place where civil engineers are engaged, whether that be landside, airside, or terminal development, activities associated with design or construction development in general. But what is critical is that we have great airport infrastructure. Today, again, I said our speaker will be Mr. Daniel Porter. He's the Vice President of Planning for the RIAC. And he has 25 years of direct airport operations and planning experience, and has managed projects relating to strategic planning and management, masters in system planning, feasibility studies, noise compatibility, and so on. He's completed many projects looking at airports such as JFK International, Newark International, LaGuardia, Myrtle Beach, amongst others. He's worked in the private sector, now serving as Vice President of Planning for RIAC, and leads all planning for the airport system in the state of Rhode Island, which includes Rhode Island T.F. Green Airport, North Central, Quonset, Newport, Westerly, and Block Island state airports. And I name all those again, right, because we keep thinking of just one airport. Certainly there are 6 under the auspices of RIAC. He comes with the background in aviation management, as well as an MBA from Everett University. He's also a certified member of the American Association of Airport Executives. I'm very excited now to present to you Mr. Daniel Porter. Take it away, Dan.
Hello and good afternoon. And thank you, Chris, and thank you to the American Society of Civil Engineers, Rhode Island chapter, for having me today for your lunchtime live stream. I'm excited to be with you today, and happy holidays to you and yours. So first, for full disclosure, I am not an engineer, and nor do I play one on TV. So be gentle on me during the Q&A process. If you have any technical questions, technical engineering questions at the end that I'm unable to address, I'll be sure to follow up with Chris to get you an answer. I am filling in for Doug Wynn. He is our Chief Infrastructure Officer here at RIAC, who was unable to attend for reasons beyond his control, and he sends his best. Hopefully, I'm able to fill his large shoes. I think I will. So with that, I'd like to present to you an outline of the presentation today. First, I'd like to give a broad overview of who RIAC is, or the Rhode Island Airport Corporation, referred to often as RIAC, and who we are and what we do. Then I'd like to take a little bit of time and talk about our system of airports. As Chris alluded to, we have 6 airports in the state that are under our operational control. I'd also like to give a shout out to planning and talk about the work and in planning that takes place that informs our capital improvement plan. Then I'd like to share with you our 2022 to 2026 CIP, which will be a listing of many projects over the next 5 years. I'm not going to go over every single project, but I will call out a few relevant projects related to this audience that you might have interest to. And then I'll go into a bit of detail about our payment management program and what that means and what's required of us under the Federal Aviation Administration. And then I'll talk to you about some ongoing construction projects at our airports and projects that are currently under design. And then I'll show you where to look for upcoming opportunities for project work here at RIAC. And last, I'll try to address any questions that you may have. So, who is Rhode Island Airport Corporation, also known as RIAC? We are a I'm having some blips here. Sorry about that. I had a blip here. We are a semi-autonomous subsidiary of Rhode Island Airport Corporation. We were formed in December 9th of 1992, and we are a 7-member board. We have a 7-member board of directors appointed by the governor. We operate and maintain Rhode Island's 6 airports under a long-term lease with Rhode Island DOT, and we have approximately 150 employees that are very talented and are very passionate about what they do here at Rhode Island Airport Corporation and for the state. To learn more about Rhode Island Airport Corporation, we also have published a 2021 annual report. It provides a wealth of information related to our airport system, and also have it be known that the Rhode Island TF Green International Airport is in 2021 is celebrating its 90th birthday. This airport was one of the first state-owned airports in the country. So first, I'd like to talk a little bit about Rhode Island Airport Corporation's vision, our mission, and our values. So quite simply, our vision is to provide safe, convenient aviation gateway to New England. Our mission is to provide a self-sustaining public agency that provides quality facilities, is safe, secure, efficient, convenient air transportation for Rhode Island and the New England region, and is developing, promoting, and managing the airport system to stimulate the region's economic growth. And we do this by fostering a corporate culture that balances fiscal, civic, and environmental stewardship. And our values: first and foremost, public service. As I mentioned, we operate public facilities. We are stewards of these airports, and we want to continue to foster a link between our airport leadership and the needs of the aviation and surrounding communities. Also very important to us, and we received national accolades for our customer service excellence, we want to provide customer-friendly transportation experiences that meet and exceeds those expectations. Although we are in a very regulated industry, we strive to be innovators and a source of new ideas for service and additional revenues. We are all about continuous improvement. We always strive to improve services and processes through continued assessments and our performance. And last but not least is our teamwork. We provide leadership and foster ways of working together with each person and are committed towards working towards our vision and our mission. So enough about RIAC. I'd like to talk a little bit about our Rhode Island system of airports. We have 6 airports in the state under our control. The first airport is Rhode Island TF Green International Airport, also known for its 3-letter identifier as PVD. It is a primary small hub airport. It is ranked right now 77th in the country in terms of enplanements being passengers coming to the airport and taking off. And then we have 5 general aviation airports in our state, beginning with Westerly, with a 3-letter identifier of WST. It is a primary non-hub airport, which means it has commercial service to and from Block Island and having over 10,000 enplanements at the airport, followed by Block Island with the identifier of BID, which is also a primary non-hub airport because of its linkage to Westerly, again, receiving over 10,000 enplanements. The next airport is North Central, or SFZ. This is a general aviation reliever airport, meaning that it relieves the general aviation operations that are happening at TF Green to operate commercial. Not to say that Rhode Island TF Green International Airport does not receive general aviation. It's just that North Central acts as a reliever to those operations, as does Quonset to our south of PVD. That is also a general aviation reliever airport. And last but not least is a general aviation airport at Newport. The role of these airports, if you could see on the top right, it's NPIAS. That stands for National Plan of Integrated Airport System. It's the FAA's basically system of letting of these airports that are within the national system network and are eligible to receive federal funds. So a little bit more detail about the airports in general. So we have 11 runways here at Rhode Island, both for commercial and general aviation aircraft. Starting with Pavements or TF Green International Airport, we've got 2 runways. Runway 523, which is just is 8,700 feet long, which was extended in 2017 to that length and 150 feet wide. We have also a crosswind runway. It's runway 1634, which is just over 6,000 feet and 150 feet wide. At Westerly, we have runway 725, which is just over 4,000 feet and 100 feet wide. And another runway, which is just 3,980 feet, 75 feet wide. We also have at Block Island, we have a single runway at that location. That's 2,500 feet by 100 feet wide. And then we also have North Central Airport, which has 2 runways. It's 5,000 feet and 3,200 feet, or 2,010 feet. And Quonset has a 7,500 foot runway on 1634. And runway 523 is just over 4,000 feet. And last but not least, Newport is runway 422, and that's just under 3,000 feet. And we also have a runway of 1634, 2,623 feet. So I'd like to talk a little bit about planning, and it's the basis for the development of our capital improvement program. And starting with the hierarchy of planning, we have a system plan, or known as the state guide plan. And what that does is it looks at our airport systems as a whole, okay? So just as a very broad look at all the airports in our system, and defines each airport by their role and the various services that they provide. And then one level down is our airport master plan. Each airport has an airport master plan. This is a required document by the Federal Aviation Administration in order to receive federal funding. And this looks at a detailed look at each airport, including inventory, forecasting, facility requirements, various alternatives to meet those facility requirements. And then we get into the financial plan, how are we going to pay for those new developments? And then finally, an environmental overview. Thirdly, we also recently are undergoing a general aviation strategic business plan. And that is currently available on our website, and it's out for public review. Essentially, we are looking at the business aspect of operating the general aviation airports. What can we do better as an organization to improve these airports, to improve those airports that are currently operating in the red and get them into the black, and innovative ways that we can meet both the services, provide the services at those airports, and also have opportunities to increase revenue. So if you have time, you can go on our website and review that plan and provide some comments. The next document is the Federal Aviation Administration Airport Capital Improvement Plan. We, as an airport sponsor, are required to provide to the FAA a plan which they will provide funding for over a 5-year period, in terms of 5-year increments in terms of that plan. And then last but not least is the RIAC budget, which is a 1-year outlook or a 1-year budget that is approved by our board. On an annual basis. So as I mentioned, the airport master plan. For TF Green, we are just coming off an approved airport master plan that was completed in June of this year. And the primary focus of the master plan is really in 5 areas. We look at the airfield geometry, the runways, the taxiways. Are the runways and taxiways meeting Federal Aviation Administration standards? For TF Green, I can tell you that the runways are fixed. We have, as I mentioned, in 2017, we extended our runway 523 to 8,700 feet. So during the master planning process, there are no plans to extend the runways. For the taxiways, however, we are looking at ways to meet standards and also provide efficiencies related to the new developments that will be happening over the 5, 10, 15-year period. Then we looked at what we call the North General Aviation and Cargo area. This area is located on the north side of the airport along Airport Road. This was a comprehensive look at the existing flight line, the available hangars along that aircraft apron space, and looking over the 20-year period of being constrained by both the runway and Airport Road, of ways that we can expand the aircraft apron to meet the requirements or the needs over the next 20-year period. However, that area is very constrained, so we are looking at other areas of the airport to meet demand. We also looked at the commercial terminal area, the area that receives commercial activity for commercial aircraft and for passengers and customers to come to our facility and fly out. So over a period of time, we will be looking at ways based on demand, or what we call planning activity levels, to meet that demand, whether it be an expansion of the existing terminal or providing services on the land side, which was the next area that we looked at. Better ways to improve our roadway system within our campus here at the airport, whether it be extending our internal loop road or providing an airport parking garage at a certain point where demand dictates. And last but not least, on the south side of the airport, more specifically the southwest side of the airport, we are looking for opportunities to increase what we're seeing in terms of demand for aircraft or airline cargo operations. This will be a comprehensive approach and be done in phases to accommodate both warehousing facilities and aircraft apron space for cargo airlines to operate. This master plan can be seen on our airport website at pvdairport.com, and you can look into more detail on the various elements of that plan. As I mentioned earlier, the capital improvement plan is informed by this master plan, and it's also informed by the other master plans at our general aviation airports that'll make up our capital improvement plan. Next, we also inform our capital improvement plan by various assessments that we've done for the infrastructure, and it becomes a source for development of that capital improvement plan. Specifically, we looked at the pavement management program. We also looked at the infrastructure condition assessment. So looking at various elements at our facilities, such as the terminals at the facilities, the electrical vaults, the wind cones, fuel farms, fencing, to just name a few. And then last but not least, with the aerial obstruction surveys, quantifying the obstructions that are penetrating the airspace here at the various airports related to vegetative obstructions. Those assessments can also be viewed at pvdairport.com under corporate, and you'll see a link there for infrastructure assessments. So our capital improvement plan. As you can see, it's a long list of projects, again, informed by our master plans and the various assessments that we have done. For TF Green, Rhode Island TF Green International Airport, over the next 5 years, from 2022 to 2026, we have approximately $47.8 million worth of projects that we will be looking at. And I will get into some various projects in future slides here to give you a little bit more background of the projects that are moving forward. On the air side, as I mentioned, we're looking at various pavement projects related to reconstruction of runways and taxiways. That totals about $16.1 million for airside projects here at PVD. And then on the general aviation side, for 5 years, approximately $74 million worth of projects related to either terminal demolition to make way for future business development at Quonset. Also at Block Island Airport, we're looking at an aircraft apron rehabilitation. At North Central, looking at a security fence project. As I mentioned, we are moving forward with various obstruction removals at the various airports. And then we're looking at at Block Island in the future years for taxiway reconstruction and rehabilitation projects. And this CIP can be viewed also at pvdairport.com under documents under the financial section. So a little bit of detail about the general payment management program itself. So first of all, when we go out and we look at the payments, we want to know, what do we have? So that's essentially an inventory effort. We look at all the payments at all 6 airports, and we develop an inventory, we take stock in the various payments that we have under our control. And then we do a data collection effort. What is the condition of these payments? And then we look at a condition analysis. So how long will it be until certain payments are at a certain payment condition index, right? So basically we look at the condition, whether a rehabilitation is necessary or a reconstruction or maintenance. And then last but not least, we will look at what to fix, when, and for how much. So it is mandatory for all projects that are funded under federal programs, the Federal Aviation Administration receiving grant funds, that we have an airport improvement through the airport improvement program and passenger facility charges, that we have an airfield pavement management program. At TF Green, as I mentioned, we have a number of different airports that we looked at for the pavement condition, and under the FAA requirements, based on the pavement condition index, it'll dictate whether we have a full reconstruction, whether it be a rehabilitation project or a maintenance project, and those are dictated by the pavement condition index. For reconstruction, it's 55 or below. For rehabilitation, it is 70 or below. And then for maintenance, it's just annual continuous maintenance. And based on that inventory and that review, our pavement condition index for our airports range from 59 to 70, which puts us in the fair category. So for PVD specifically, the capital improvement program for payments, as you can see on this slide, has a number of different payments that we're looking at based on their condition, and then a rollout based on annual year and annual budget resources. We will continue to repair these payments based on that backlog. And as you can see here, ranging from years 21 through 2027 and beyond, we have runway reconstruction projects. We actually are undergoing a runway reconstruction project on 1634, which is our crosswind runway. We are in need at some point here in the near future to reconstruct runway 523, which is our primary runway. And then, as I mentioned, we have various taxiways that we're going to be looking to rehab or reconstruct. The one here in the very near future is Taxiway Charlie. Taxiway Charlie is a connection between the end of runway 34, proceeding up to the west, crossing runway 523 to the terminal. So that is a runway taxiway reconstruction project that we'll be looking to do over the next 5 years. So as you can see here, we have a lot of payments that we'll be looking to both at TF Green and at our general aviation airports. So as I mentioned earlier, I'd like to talk a little bit about various projects that we have ongoing, either in construction or design. Right now, we have 15 projects that are either currently in design or construction, totaling about $14.3 million. First, I'd like to talk about the projects that are ongoing for construction. Currently, we have 8 projects that are in the construction phase that value over $33.6 million. As I mentioned, we have a reconstruction project here at at Rhode Island TF Green International Airport, which is in its completion. It's approaching its completion here in January of 2022. That was a full reconstruction of that runway. We're also undergoing a restroom renovation project here at PVD, which is a full gut and reconstruct of all the bathrooms here at the airport. We're also doing a PVD camera storage server replacement for our security camera system. And we're also doing an RF rapid response alert system upgrade. Additionally, we're doing a wayfinding signage improvements here at the airport at PVD. And we're also doing a Block Island State Airport apron rehab, which will go under construction first quarter of next year, 2022. This rehab will be about 100,000 square feet of improvements to that pavement, and it'll be a full reconstruct. At North Central, we will be doing a wildlife fencing project, which will replace approximately 9,000 linear feet, or replace or repair 9,000 linear feet of fencing, and also provide 10,000 linear feet of new fencing at that airport. And also we're doing an electrical upgrades to the hangar at Newport. Currently under design, we have a total of 7 projects that are valued at approximately $10.7 million in design fees. The project that will be coming off the server replacement for the security system will be a replacement of the camera system storage and servers at TF Green. We'll be replacing and upgrading the public address system at the terminal. We'll also be doing a departures, drainage, and soffit repair along the interior roadway and the deck, the second deck on coming up to the arrivals and departures area at the airport. We're also doing a dispatch radio improvements at the airport for TF Green. We're also doing an assessment of the stormwater conveyance and the system here at the airport. So essentially looking at all the underground drainage and assessing the piping underneath to get an assessment and prepare a plan for improvements in the coming years. As you mentioned, we are under design for Taxiway Charlie for a reconstruction project. And at Quonset, we're about to start design on a $55 million runway reconstruct on 1634. So as you can see, we have a lot going on. So more specifically, I'd like to get into some of these projects that I mentioned. This is Quonset Runway 1634. It'll be a full depth runway reconstruction. We'll also include a relocation of Taxiway Alpha to be in compliance with Federal Aviation Administration separation standards from runway to taxiway centerline. We also increased the safety area of 1,000 feet on runway 34 it. And then this will be a joint project with with RIAC, the Federal Aviation Administration, and the National Guard. As you know, the National Guard at Quonset operates the C-130 fleet of aircraft and will be involved in this project as well. As I mentioned, Taxiway Charlie will be a realignment and a rehabilitation for runway 34 at Rhode Island TF Green International Airport. The realignment is related to the needed 400-foot separation standard. And then we're going to also replace the new electrical lighting and the signage on that taxiway, and also provide stormwater upgrades and grading improvements. It is estimated that this project will be around $11 million. The next project, as I mentioned, is a wildlife fence installation and repair and replacement. As I mentioned, about 10,000 feet of new fencing. We're grubbing and clearing areas for that new fencing and repairing and replacing various sections of the existing fence. And then we will also be installing a wildlife skirt on the underneath along the flight line, along the fence line, and access gates. And as I mentioned, we're doing a bathroom renovations. We have phase 1 complete for the North Concourse bathrooms and the baggage claim bathroom, which were opened this year in December. And then we're going into phase 2, which will complete the renovation for the South Concourse bathrooms as well as the bathrooms at the upper level. Again, this is a complete gut of the existing bathrooms and a replacement of new finishes and new fixtures. As you can see on this slide, the new improvements to this facility are going to add great amenities to our customers and our passengers. And then last but not least, I'd like to talk about 1634 reconstruction. As I mentioned, this is on schedule. This will be opened in January of 2022. This runway has been down for 18 months. And this was a complete reconstruct of that runway, going down to the base of the runway with a complete build-up, meeting FAA standards based on their design guidelines. And this will be, again, reopening this runway will provide the secondary runway for the airport. And last, I'd like you to just give you a sense of procurement and sources of information. The bid information and the opportunities, the upcoming opportunities, are available at www.pvdairport.com under corporate and procurement. If you want to find out what is upcoming or what is currently out for RFQ or for IFB for invitations for bid. And if you have any questions related to procurement, they can be sent to procurement at pvdairport.com. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to the Rhode Island American Society of Civil Engineers. This was a great opportunity, and at this time, I'd like to address any questions that you might
have. Thank you, Dan. Chris, would you like to unmute? All right.
All right, great. Again, thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. And I was really excited to hear about this. And just one question to kind of get this started. I guess with COVID-19, I was just kind of wondering, you talked about employment levels. Have you guys seen an incredible reduction, or have you kind of held steady throughout this time?
Well, like many airports in the country, yes, we have seen a reduction in employment levels. In 2019, we were approaching at about 2 million employments, and we saw, between 2020 and 2021, a drop off of about 65% of our passengers or our employments coming to the airport. The good news is that we are seeing a rebound, much like many airports in the country. Some airports are rebounding more quickly than others. But we are seeing additional activity by the airlines, and we are seeing a trend towards an increase. Eventually getting back to 2019 levels will remain to be seen. Based on what I've seen from the FAA and what they're saying, it's about 2024 before we're back to 2019 levels. But what I can say is that we are seeing an uptick in passengers coming to the airport. And that's encouraging.
One thing that we covered in the infrastructure report card was the need to electrify the rails that service the airport at TF Green, so that Amtrak could stop there. Do you know the status of that?
Yes. So this is an endeavor by Amtrak and by Rhode Island Department of Transportation, and also at the federal level. And Rhode Island Airport Corporation is very tapped into this project. This facility is known as a multimodal facility, and having additional Amtrak service will be an enhancement to the airline service. What I can tell you about the status of the project is that is currently in the preliminary design phase. Rhode has just received funding for approximately $3 million to advance to a 30% design. That's just getting underway. So the results of that preliminary design is yet to be seen. But it will involve adding a fourth track to the footprint coming into the station, which involves a lot of different elements and various elements to make that improvement. There's also an adjustment of the elevation of the third track to accommodate the electrification of that rail. So a lot has to be done in terms of understanding what needs to be done in terms of design. But I can tell you that we are tracking it very closely and being involved in the advancement of that. And in terms of timeline, it will remain to be seen in terms of cost and what needs to be done. But we would like to hope that over the next several years that we will see movement and eventually construction of that line to provide Amtrak service at the airport.
Very good. We got another question here. Are there any plans for more direct flights originating from PVD?
There's always plans for more service, and many times I can't comment on what we've got going on, but I can tell you that we've got a tremendous president and CEO who is very engaged in working with our partners and our airlines and our community to provide additional services. And since he's been here, Iftikhar has been very. We've seen results in terms of adding additional services and adding future additional nonstops, and hopefully that trend will continue. But yes, we will always strive to provide additional nonstop service. So more to come on that front.
Sounds great.
I had a couple other questions, if we can go for that. I'm always interested when we talk about safety and wildlife fencing as FZ. What kind of issues do you have with wildlife at that particular airport and maybe other ones?
Well, wildlife and airports do not mix, right? So essentially a fence, obviously a fence at Rhode Island TFB International Airport is twofold many times. It's obviously providing security for the airport, but it also provides wildlife protection. But at our general aviation airports, primarily the main use for the fencing is to keep out wildlife such as primarily deer and whether it be fox or coyote, just making sure that that wildlife cannot encroach onto our runways and our taxiways. So it's very important that we provide the fencing to make sure that the aircraft and the pilots that are operating at the airport are safe.
You did mention, I guess it was 1634, supposed to be back in full use in January 2022. Have you had disturbance in your progress, or has it been pretty much continuous in being able to, for the redesign and then construction, to get that back in use?
Yeah, I mean, hands off to our contractors and our team here, our engineers. This project is on schedule. It was funded by the Federal Aviation Administration, so we're very making sure that we are spending those dollars wisely, making sure that the projects are managed accordingly and efficiently. And I can tell you, just based on what my understanding of the project and what has occurred, that the project is very much on time, on schedule, and obviously the airlines are looking forward to getting that runway back in place because it acts as our crosswind runway. Yeah. Many of the larger aircraft can accept the primary runway regardless of the wind direction, but the smaller aircraft, the ones that the commuter airlines or the smaller general aviation aircraft sometimes would have to divert if they can't meet their crosswind component. So having this runway, our crosswind runway, back online is very important to us. But I can tell you that a great job done by all, and we're looking forward to have that runway back online in January of 2022.
Okay. And maybe one last question from me, and hopefully the rest of the audience can come into play. But and I apologize. I'm a professor too, so and actually we've been talking about airport design issues the last week or so. So these things are kind of fresh in my mind. But you have projects, the Taxiway Charlie at PVD, and then Apron Rehabilitation. When you go through these types of projects, is there an expectation of closure to some extent, or how do you kind of work around these developments?
Yeah, again, we talk about teamwork, right, and communication. So many times I'm just scrolling through here to get to the Taxiway Charlie in particular. There we go. So yeah, it is a collaborative approach with our airlines or if on the general aviation level, our tenants on ways to phase these projects. Many times it's about timing, so we're not doing these projects during peak periods, right? So that's important. So again, it's just a teamwork meeting, preliminary planning and preliminary design. During the design phase, having a good understanding of how this will be phased and where the aircraft will go. Now that that surface is shut down, what are the taxiway routes, or where can aircraft park in lieu of parking in an area that's being rehabbed? So again, it's just working together with our tenants and our users to make sure that the impact isn't so great that we're impacting their business or their ability to fly. And if we are, then we will come up with ways or strategies to mitigate against that. So that's very important. So for example, Taxiway Charlie, between runway 34 and going up to our primary runway 523 will be completely closed down, right? So in order for that taxiway or that runway to be used, we're gonna have to work with the FAA air traffic controllers in order for them to what they call back taxi. So they would back taxi on the runway, turn around, and then take off, which is, again, from an air traffic control standpoint, if you got an aircraft that is taxiing on a runway, they got to make sure that they meet their separation standards in terms of landing aircraft that are landing and taking off. So that has to be factored in. So all that needs to be planned out up front with both air traffic control and our users to make sure that the plan in place is going to be able to be executed. In terms of aprons, again, we would try not to completely, if we can, we'd utilize an area of an apron that is not being rehabbed for parking. And if the entire apron is being rehabbed, like the one at Block Island, we would do it in phases, right? And then so we would keep one area operational while we're rehabbing another, and then flip flop, right? So that's very important. So as I mentioned, we want to make sure that we have the least impact to our users, but we also know that we need to get the project done. So again, it's kind of that song and dance in terms of working with those partners, and then we come up with a plan and execute it.
Sure. Chad, do we have other questions online?
I think that's it.
Then I have one more. Sorry for monopolizing this time, but
no worries.
I love when persons have the actual knowledge. I like to talk to them. And I guess the last kind of question I really want to talk about is when we talk about these particular, like a taxiway or your aprons, what is the typical depth of your pavements? And maybe you can't say specifically, but what's the typical depth of pavement when we're talking about dealing with reconstruction? Or
yeah, I mean we're talking feet, right? So I don't know how the exact depth, but based on the airport advisory circulars that the Federal Aviation Administration provides to us, based on the type of aircraft operating on that surface, obviously the load that we would expect for that type of aircraft would dictate the depth that is needed for a particular pavement section. So based on the base course and then building up from that all the way to your top level, is certainly a number of feet, but it's all predicated upon the type of aircraft that is using it.
I was very excited this year. I got a photo of that giant Russian cargo jet as it took off with the sailboat in it.
Okay, out of which airport?
I believe it was TF Green or Quonset, but I was able to see it from my office here, and I said, "Holy cow! What is that?"
Right. Well, if it was the Russian one, if I recall, it's the Antonov. It looks much like a C-5 military jet, and those are a sight to be seen. We talk about aircraft load. An aircraft of that size operating on an airport, obviously is a tremendous load on our pavements. But yeah, it's amazing when you see those aircraft take off or land. It seems like they're standing still or sitting still, but it's amazing how much power they generate, and to be able to land and take off, it's amazing.
I guess one last thing, and hopefully this is the last one. Obviously, I don't want to eat lunch. That's my problem. But the one last thing is, we typically only think about passenger operation, but certainly you have commercial or freight that movements in your airport. What percentage kind of was dedicated to freight movement, like FedEx or something like that? Yeah, special gates for them, or to what extent do you kind of hold some provision for those types of aircraft?
Yeah, I mean, the cargo operations within the state of Rhode Island are primarily, the heavy cargo obviously is out of Rhode Island TF Green International Airport. Primarily the types of cargo that we see at this airport are through our integrated carriers, those carriers being FedEx and UPS. And then we've got a small percentage that comes in through the belly of our commercial airlines. Typically, it's about 3% that come in through the belly cargo, and the remaining 97 comes through the integrated carriers or freighters when we have freighter service. But we cargo related to COVID and supply chain issues, and of course many people that are ordering e-commerce. So we are seeing an increase in cargo demand here at the airport. In 2020, we saw a 12% increase in cargo in millions of pounds, about 30 million pounds. And then right now in 2021, we're seeing about a 25% increase in cargo in poundage in millions of pounds. So the demand is there. And as I mentioned in the master plan and working with our business development folks, is that we are developing strategies and developing plans based on our master plan to meet that demand. It won't happen overnight, no pun intended, but it's going to take some time. So we're going to have to do some planning and preliminary engineering and look at our master plan and work with our partners here at the city and the state and at the federal level to be able to accommodate additional cargo operations at the airport. It's a very important component of airports and economic impact to both the state and the region, the ability to get goods in and out of the state and to accommodate businesses that depend on getting their goods and services. We know that Boston is very much constrained in terms of the amount of land that they have there and their ability to accommodate cargo operations, and other airports, JFK. So, we think that TF Green is strategically, right in the middle or right there in the center to accommodate, additional growth. So more to come on cargo and our ability to meet that demand.
So Chad has placed some items here for us to take into account. Certainly our riasce.org website is under construction. But let me go back for just a moment. And again, thank Daniel for taking time out. Again, he mentioned this earlier, but he's pinch hitting for us And I appreciate him taking time out of his schedule to come and share with us today on this master plan. So well done, Dan. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. As I mentioned, we are all about public service and being good stewards of these facilities. When we say public service, what do these airports mean to this state and to this region? And at the end of the day, it's about economic impact and the ability to accommodate passengers either for business or for leisure. We want to make sure that we provide quality services and facilities for this state. The state of Rhode Island deserves it, and we as Rhode Island Airport Corporation continue to meet the challenge. And again, thank you to the American Society of Civil Engineers. This has been a pleasure, and I really appreciate the opportunity to give you an insight of some of the things that we're doing at these airports in terms of projects. And if the opportunity arises to provide another session in the future, please let us know. And thank you very much.
Again, thank you. And I want to give a thanks to Chad Morrison, our RIASC president, and also our hoster of these events. He wears many hats as our president, but certainly has become a great presentation developer for us as we use StreamYard to bring these out to our members. One thing I want to also share with you is that we're going to present a donation on behalf of RIAC, and this comes from RIASC. We're going to give a $100 donation to the Rhode Island Food Bank on your behalf. Certainly what we think will be helpful at this time of the year to share in the community.
Wow, thank you very much for that. That's very much appreciative. And any donation in our name is very much appreciated, and thank you very much.
Okay. Let's see. Again, we have these notices on our screen, right? And again, our RIASCE website is under construction. Certainly, we look to collaborate, asce.org for help. And then the YMG is our Young Members Group. We do continue to, we do plan to continue to look at new program as we go into 2022. We have not finalized our speaker yet, but certainly we're looking at a couple of people, and we'll be sharing information fairly soon about the upcoming speaker, probably late January. I want to reach out to Chad and see if there are any other comments or information that he wants to share with our membership.
Oh, that was great, Chris. I think that went really well. Just stay connected with us. We're not really sure what January is going to hold for us as far as getting together as a group. So it's important to just keep in touch, and we're looking to reboot our website. So once that's back online, we will be sending out notifications on that, and hope to see everybody soon.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and hope you have a good holiday season. Take care.